Hello, my delusional bitch baddie. Of course, we already have Koopa in the background, barking his little head off. Koopa, this is not the time, okay? So, as you can see, I'm doing a solo episode tonight, because sickness is real. Whitney has a little something something, which is fine. We miss her. We pray for her quick and speedy recovery. But I'm not, I'm like, if yours, she was gonna try and make it in still. And I was like, girl, if you have something, I'm not trying to catch it. Please take a night off. So, yeah, I'm solo tonight, and I was kind of freaking out because I was like, oh my God, how do I do this? I don't have enough time to like get another co-host. I was like, the last time I did this solo, it was awful. Like, you can go listen to it, but like, please don't. But I was thinking to myself, I was like, I have all these ideas for TikToks, right? And I was like, essentially, when you're making a TikTok, you are just talking to yourself anyway. So I was like, why not? How about we make tonight's episode just like all my sporadic TikTok ideas? So, let me tell you about what we're going to talk about tonight. So, if you follow me on Instagram, if you follow the pod on Instagram, there was no episode last week. So I'm going to explain a little bit why and like how I'm dealing with a little bit of grief from the loss of a friend. I've also been super kind of stressed out because I have a full-time job and I'm dealing with a little passive aggressive situation. Not me being passive aggressive for once, you know. But so just some advice and tips and tricks on how to stay professional, but also like how to deal with that passive aggressiveness. I'm also going to get into a little bit of conspiracies about some natural phenomenons going on right now in the Midwest. And then, of course, we're going to get into some girly pop culture stories. So, this is Delusional Bitch Juice. Thank you for joining me on the solo episode, and let's get into it. Okay, so like I said, I have unfortunately I've been dealing with some grief lately, and it's very, very difficult losing someone. And so I'm just gonna start off by saying I am so sorry to anyone out there who has experienced a loss of a close friend, grandparent, parent. It doesn't matter, honestly, what the relationship is. If you're experiencing grief, this one's for you, and I'm so sorry. Everybody's grieving process is different. I finally feel comfortable coming on here and talking about it now. So, that's what I'm gonna do. So, about 2 weeks ago, actually a week ago, was one of my very close friends' funeral. She actually passed a week before that. Um, she was actually one of my bridesmaids. So that makes it especially difficult, not just because she was a bridesmaid, but I just want to tell you guys like how close she was. Like she was close enough to be a bridesmaid. She was great. Just always light up the room, always very type A personality, project manager of everybody's lives. I miss her dearly. But I just wanted to come on here and say and kind of talk about how I've been expressing my grief. So at first, you and everybody talks about these like 5 stages of grief, 5, 6, I don't know. But and they're like supposed to go in order, and like now you're supposed to be in this stage and in this stage. Well, like honestly, it's kind of all over, and again, everybody grieves differently. But at first I was in denial. I was like, this isn't real, this isn't real. Like I woke up every day thinking like I was dreaming, like it was a bad nightmare, and that I just couldn't believe it. And then like closer to the funeral it became more real, and I just like got angry, but I like really didn't know who to be angry at. And I was just like trying to come up with the reasons in my head why they took her so early, because she was my age, so she was, in her 30s. And you're like trying to cope because you're like trying to come up with reasons with like how like to make sense of it all, because it was just like she was so healthy, everything was falling into place in her life, and all of a sudden they just took her. And it like doesn't make sense. So then like I was in denial, then I was like trying to explain things to myself without even really knowing. And then like I said, then I just moved into anger. And those are really the three parts of grief, I guess, I have been experiencing. And at first I didn't want to talk about it. At first I just wanted to like crawl in a hole, like bed rot, just watch Sex and the City all day and eat ice cream, and like nobody talked to me, like not even my fiance. I was like, just everybody piss off and leave me alone. But that then I like soon realized like I can't ignore it. Like the denial process, like it's real. So I just have to get over it. So after about a week and after the funeral and everything, I'm like, okay, like I have to pick myself up and I have to talk about it. And I encourage you, if you're going through grief, to express it and talk about it with your family and your friends, even though it's hard to talk about. Honestly, the more I talk about it, and even why I'm even coming on here and being comfortable talking about it, is because like I feel like it helps me in a way. So I would definitely encourage you, as like a coping strategy, to definitely talk about it. If you have a great support system, don't be afraid to reach out to them. Again, I know it's probably hard. I'm like struggling right now actually, but I promise that you will feel way better. Another way that me and my fiance and all her friends have been coping is just celebrating her life. We got together, me and some of her girlfriends got together the Saturday before the funeral and put together a bunch of like picture boards of just like pictures of her, pictures with her dog, her husband, her friends. And that was just like, and we had mimosas and some of her favorite, brunch treats. And it was just great. It was great. And it was awesome to see how many lives she impacted. And we just were sharing stories and, participating in a memorial basically of her life and celebrating the positive impact that she had on people. I think that's really important. Again, it's going to be really difficult. Again, if you're going through grief like I am, it's going to be really difficult to talk about them, but I encourage you to share those stories with friends and family as well, and just let everybody know how great of a person they were. Also allow some time for grief. It's okay to feel sad, and that grief doesn't have a fixed timeline, and I'm learning that as I go through this. It's been 2 weeks, and I'm like, okay, I'm a very list type person. I like things in bullet points, like show me the timeline, show me like the process, and I'll get through it, right? Well, I'm slowly learning that grief could last, a week, or it could last a year, and it's okay if, it doesn't go by your timeline. Like you just have to, honestly, you just have to live with it. It's okay to feel sad, and you can feel sad as long as you want. I also recommend looking into support groups, whether that's, and this goes back to, talking about it with family and friends. If you don't have those people around you, if you don't have, or if you don't feel like you have a strong support system, I definitely like recommend looking into, like support groups online where you can connect with others who have had a similar experience. I know BetterHelp is an app that a lot of people have suggested. This is not an ad, I promise. I just know from personal experience and from friends' experience that has helped them with grief in the past. If you do find someone who has gone through a similar situation, I would, reach out to them and connect with them and see how they coped. Also, I've been trying to refocus my grief, basically, I guess, on healthy habits and activities. So one thing that really helped me after the funeral was, getting back into my routine. I am a routine girly, and like for the past 2 weeks, my routine has just been chaos. It's been trashed. Obviously because, I took off the Monday after I found out it happened. The funeral was like the wake was on a Monday, the funeral was on a Tuesday. So that's time off of work that messes, and then you're just sad for the rest of the week. That really messes up like your whole week, especially if you have a routine like me. So just getting back into that routine mindset, and then, getting outside really helped too, like walking the dog again. Speaking of the dog, let's pause. Koopa needs his own show, like, honestly, but I gave him a Kong treat and he's all good, and I need more wine, so. Anyway, where was I at? Oh, healthy habits, activities, walking the dog, getting outside. Physical activity can be very therapeutic, whether, you might not feel like it, but you just need to take that step and be like, I need to get off my ass. You can still be sad. Just because you're getting back into your normal routine doesn't mean that you're like forgetting about the person or that you're done being sad about it. It's just like, at the end of the day, you have to take care of yourself mentally also. Like try creative outlets, like try painting, paint by numbers. Honestly, this painting behind me, if you're watching the video, is a paint by number. There are some like detailed paint by numbers, and those are actually really therapeutic. Listen to the music, or just anything that can really like help you express your emotions that might be hard to verbalize. So, like I said, again, if grief feels overwhelming for you or like unimaginable, seeking help is the best thing you can do. I would advise like finding a grief counselor or talking to your therapist about it. That's always a wise, healthy step if you're experiencing grief. But basically, in conclusion of this sad little segment, not little, I don't want to say, but grief is a personal journey, all right? And moving forward doesn't always mean that you're forgetting about the person, but like you're learning to live with the loss. And if you're dealing with grief like me of a close friend, relative, parent, coworker, whatever, I just really encourage you to take it day by day. It will get easier. You are strong, and we will get through this together. So let's move on to a less sad segment, and actually probably a more angry segment, actually. So let's go. Okay, so your girl is gonna need a little bit more wine for this one. I'm I'm honestly so embarrassed by this wine. It's Yellowtail. Don't judge. I haven't drank this since college, but the future hubby used it to cook pasta with last night, so of course he's not gonna buy like an expensive wine. But I also don't have any other wine in the house because I told myself I wasn't drinking until this bachelorette party I'm going on at the end of the month. But since I have to record solo, I have some wine. So thank you, Whitney, for being sick on breaking my non-drinking habit of 2 days. Yes, I said this on Sunday that I wasn't drinking this week. It's literally Tuesday. Anyway, so I want to get into something else I've been kind of dealing with that's a little bit stressful and adding extra stress onto my life. On top of wedding planning, on top of losing a friend. I have been experiencing some, wait, I need a drink. Okay. I have been experiencing some passive aggressiveness at work, and nobody other than myself knows passive aggressiveness so well, because I used to be that passive aggressive bitch. Let me like give you a little background. I have been managing people. I don't manage people now, but I came up in the retail world. I was a store manager of like a whole actual ass store, like age 25. Like no one should have put me in charge of a store, but I was. And that was my first managing job and managing people, and it gave me a little bit of a power trip. And I used to be that passive aggressive manager, and I'd like wasn't aware of my tone. I thought I could talk to everybody the same, which you can't. You have to really, like, if you're managing people, you really have to tailor, like, how you say things to people and stuff. And, I'm a big advocate for mental health now, like, and mental health awareness now. And I wish I would have, like, known what I sounded like back then, because I could probably be like a fucking CEO or something by now if I was in my own way because of how mean I was. And I thought that being nice was a weakness, but you can be direct and be nice at the same time and still earn respect without being passive aggressive and just being a power trip psycho bitch. So, and this is not about my manager. My manager at my full-time job is a saint. She is a sweet baby angel. She advocates for all her directs. She is perfect. This is honestly about a colleague, and she doesn't listen to the pod, so hopefully not. But if she does, then maybe she can learn some tips. I'm sorry. I'm not saying any names, but now you all know it's a girl. But anyway, so passive aggressiveness can come in many forms. If you haven't dealt with it, you're lucky. But especially in a workplace setting, it can, like, people can really pass it off as, like, I don't know how to describe it, like, just being petty, I guess. So this can be like sarcastic comments, the silent treatment, backhanded compliments, which used to be my specialty, but I'm a nicer person now. Or deliberately, like, avoiding work or delaying work, or just, like, giving criticism that isn't constructive. It's just criticism. So that's something I really had to learn to be good at too. Instead of just dogging someone on their work, really being constructive about it, and also not presenting it in a way that's a backhanded compliment. So, so someone might resort to passive aggressiveness because of a lack of communication, especially through email. I always say, and ever since I entered the corporate world after retail, because retail was face to face, you know what tone you know where I'm coming from. But, like, when I started emailing more, I write how I talk, so my tone would come through my email, and nobody was mistaking it. But then I learned, like, maybe this conversation is worth a phone call. I don't want them to, if you're saying in your mind, if you're writing an email and being like, I don't want them to take this the wrong way, it should probably be a phone call, just so nothing is misconstrued and everybody's on the same page. So, personally, I believe this is where the passive aggressiveness is coming from with my issue. But it also could be because someone's feeling insecure. Maybe they've been at the company a while, they've been doing this job, you're a new person, you're coming in and kind of not taking charge, I want to say, but, like, asking them questions. And maybe they feel threatened. Maybe they feel insecure that you're better at the job than they are, and they see you as a threat, basically. Or they have had past negative experiences with people in that situation as well. Or it could also be because they have negative experiences with direct communication, maybe. And this goes back to being self-aware, and maybe someone's being passive aggressive because, I'm sorry, Koopa, he really is my co-host tonight. What are you doing? What do you eat? What is that? Okay. Anyway, he's fine. He's just freaking out. But, so where was I? Okay, so some people might not handle negative. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm so sorry. Some people might not. We're done. We are done. I don't know what's happening with video right now, but my cat and dog and everybody just needs to fuck off. Okay, we're gonna take pause. Okay, y'all, I am, like, so sorry. The animals are just going fucking wild tonight, and also, I'm sorry about my hair. It was way cuter this afternoon, but because it's humid as fuck, I don't even know what's on my forehead. Okay, because it's humid as fuck in Missouri, this is just where we're at. Okay, so I don't even know what I was talking about now. Oh, passive aggressiveness, which I'm literally being so passive aggressive about my animals right now. Anyway, so where was I? Blah, 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 blah. Oh, passive aggressiveness. People might be passive aggressive because they are insecure. They don't deal well with direct communication. They've had previous negative experiences with direct communication, blah, 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 blah. But I just want to say, like, coming from someone who used to use passive aggressiveness as, like, all the time, as a form of communication, understanding why someone's being passive aggressive, can really help you, like, kind of, I don't know, what's the word, diffuse the situation. I was not passive aggressive for any of these reasons. I was just on a power trip. So that's another reason. Maybe they're a new manager, or maybe they're like new to this role, and that's why they're being passive aggressive. So here, some strategies, because I was really like having difficulty with it, and I have been having difficulty with it, and it was to the point where like I was about to snap and be like passive aggressive back. I want to be like, oh, you want to be petty, bitch? Okay, let's go. I will show you petty. But do not do that. You have to stay professional. The people who are being passive aggressive want you to be passive aggressive back, and like that's how they break you. So just like try to be nice, kill them with kindness, which is what I'm trying to be like what I'm doing. And like sometimes it's really, really hard. I'm like, I feel like a little bitty baby. Like I'm so weak. Oh my God. But the nicer you are and the more you show them that like you're not going to tolerate this behavior, and no matter what they say to you or how petty they're being to you or how passive aggressive they are being to you, that you're just going to you're just being a nice person. You're continuing to be a nice person. Set clear boundaries. Like, talk about the importance of setting boundaries and how they can calmly but like directly like express their feelings towards you in a professional manner. So I like, and that's why I feel like passive aggressiveness is really prominent in a work setting, because if I had a problem with like some rando on the street, or like I don't know, one of my friends of a friend, I would just say it to their face. I mean, I'm more blunt than most people, but like in a work setting, you can't just go up to your coworker and be like, "Hey, stop being a fucking bitch. I didn't like how you said that." You can't do that. So instead, a lot of people will resort to passive aggressiveness and be like, "Well, per my last email that you probably didn't fucking read." I'm just kidding. But like that's what that means. It's like it's saying things like per my last email. As I stated previously, it's just plain criticism, like, well, you didn't check this. What this specific person is doing is copying my manager on every communication she sends to me. Which is just like a tattletale and like micromanaging, and it like doesn't sit well with me. My manager even says, she's like, it doesn't sit well with me either. But so, like I said, I'm just really trying to understand where this particular person is coming from with her passive aggressiveness. So I sent her an email, and it was like a nice professional email, like, hey, how can we better direct communication? I just want to make sure, that that we have clear boundaries on like what you can and cannot say to me, basically. I've been ever since I like got whiff of her being passive aggressive to me, I've been keeping everything, which is what I strongly suggest too. Keep receipts, timelines, messages, videos, keep it all. Okay? Like literally keep it all in a folder, so that way if it does get worse and you do have to report it to HR, you have all that shit. You have receipts, okay? Have receipts, because then you can go back and reference and be like, well, this is an example of like a time you were being passive aggressive towards me and I didn't like it. And then it's really important to use neutral language, like keeping communication clear and professional, and avoid being like super emotional about it. Like just try to keep it professional. And it's like really hard to maintain that sometimes, because I consider myself a pretty hardened person. Like, it takes a lot for me to like want to report to somebody to HR, which I've had to do once already this year, but maybe I'm getting soft. I don't know. But I feel like I could take a lot of shit. Um, but if you respond to passive aggressiveness with passive aggressiveness, it's just gonna escalate the conflict. So again, I would just recommend, if you're in this situation like me, I would just recommend being nice, kill them with kindness, keep the receipts, use neutral language, don't let your emotions get the best of you, and just honestly just keep doing the best that you can at your job. Be your best self. Don't let this passive aggressive petty bitch get you down, and that's what I've been telling myself every day. So let's get into a little conspiracy hour, because some crazy shit has been happening in the Midwest, and I don't know if it's real or if it's aliens or what. So let's move on. My dog, Koopa, is side-eyeing me so hard right now. I think he's confused because I'm in the kitchen podcasting because there's better light in here. I do have two studio lights, which I just realized I did not put the filters on. So that's probably why it's hella hot in here and I'm like sweating. But it's just, I just like sitting at a table versus like sitting in a chair or a desk. Like I said, I like sitting at like a a dining room table height to podcast at. I don't know why. I just feel more comfortable. Anyway, so many of you know, or maybe you don't know, I am based in St. Louis, middle of the fucking country. So we get the brunt of like everything, right? Okay, so right now we're experiencing the 13-year and 17-year cicada brood hatching. They're all hatching at once. They've just been chilling for 13 years or 17 years in the fucking ground, and now they're coming out and screaming, having babies, and then dying. Well, they're not going to die for like another 6 weeks, but at first I was like, this is an exaggeration, y'all. Like, people, like, cicadas come around every year. There are 1-year broods. Like, it wouldn't be summer without cicadas, but this year is like super, like, crazy because it's like all of them. And I know like people in Chicago and like on the East Coast or like Northeast are dealing with this as well. It's not like I walk outside and there's like swarms of cicadas, okay? Because that's what I kind of thought it was going to be. I mean, we're only in week 1. It's only been happening for about like 3 days now, but it is crazy. So like I first noticed it, I was walking Koopa the other day about like, again, like 3 days ago, and I was just walking and one hit me in the face. And I was like, what the fuck was that? And I like look, I'm like, oh, it's one of those cicada bugs. And then I was like, oh my God, it's starting. And then I thought like the very next morning, like there were going to be swarms of them. No, that's not the case. They're slowly emerging. They are slowly emerging. I see more and more each day. Koopa. They're getting louder and louder. And some articles and like shit I'm reading is saying that like during the last week of it, it's gonna be so loud that like you're gonna be able to hear it in your house. So I'm not looking forward to that because I'm a very light sleeper. However, I only hear them the hotter it is, I feel like the louder they are. And I don't know if that's like a scientific proven fact. I know that's a thing with crickets, I want to say, like the faster they chirp, the hotter or like more humid it is. But anyway, so not only is everybody talking about these cicadas, but the northern lights are also visible in St. Louis and as far south as Alabama and Florida, which is fucking wild to me, because of all these solar flares. There's 2 things that makes this crazy. It's like that I'm concerned about is like, 1, why are we able to see the northern lights? And 2, why are there all these solar flares? So y'all, you stay with me, okay? Because the idea of these 2 things happening at the same time kind of freaks me out a little bit. And so I went into like a conspiracy rabbit hole, as I do. So okay, let's go back to cicadas real quick. So cicadas like can tell time from like the tree sap. And this is something like science has proven. But to me, that just sounds like a little timed bot. Okay, stay with me. Okay, so the 17 and 13-year brood have this natural biology, to just come out every 13, 17 years. Or could they be drones? Stick with me. Could they be like little fucking, like, how some people are like birds aren't real? Well, okay, I do think birds are real, but like, what if cicadas are like surveillance bots or something, and like made by, I don't know, unknown entities or the government, and they are basically timed biological surveillance? Who knows? I just think it's really fucking weird how they come out every year, and like there's these different broods that come out exactly the same time every fucking 13 or 17 or 20 years. It's crazy to me. It's just like, it's something that like shouldn't be real, but it is. And if you believe in God, like, that proves it. Everybody like, is like, oh, well, things that are unexplained, that's obviously God. Okay, I get it, but not everybody believes in that too. I mean, stuff can be proven scientifically and biblically. Is that the word I'm looking for? I don't know. But just bear with me. I have an open mind, so sound off in the comments. Sound off if you think cicadas are real, if you think birds are real, or if you think they're fake, and why. And then also, let me talk about the Northern Lights. So everybody's like, oh, this is such a natural, like, spectacle, like, it's so magical, blah, blah, blah. It's been proven that this, like, scientific lab that studies magnets or magnetism or geomagnetic forces or whatever has created the Northern Lights before. There's articles on it. I will find them for you if you request them. But it's been scientifically proven that through geomagnetic forces, we can create auroras, basically. However, the auroras that they create at this place up in Alaska can only be seen for 300 miles when they do create them. So it's not likely that these auroras are man-made from that research lab or whatever, because people are seeing them in, here in St. Louis, Alabama, even parts of Europe, Germany, London. They're seeing these Northern Lights where they typically don't. But could the Northern Lights be more than that? Perhaps it's some sort of like communication or byproduct of like a high-tech atmospheric experiment. Again, either conducted by NHIs or aliens or whatever they're calling them now, or the government. It comes down to two things with conspiracies: aliens or government. And they're probably working together. Honestly, they planted all these fucking cicadas, and then they're trying to distract us from the surveillance cicadas by unleashing the Northern Lights. That's my conspiracy. Yeah, I know that was a little far-fetched, but let me know in the comments. Let me know if you think these are just natural phenomenons and we are ever so lucky to see both of these happening at the same time, or if you think birds and bugs and cicadas are surveillance and the Northern Lights are man-made. Okay, let's move on to the most important part of this podcast, and that is our pop culture stories. Let's go. Okay, so here is the fun part of this podcast that honestly you're probably just waiting to, skip through to anyway, because I was trying to be an advice podcast, and then I was trying to be a science podcast, and now we're a pop culture podcast, which is originally what the point of me starting this podcast was. So I have 4 stories for you. Yes, I know 4, but I'm going to go through them really quick, so stick with me. Unless you live under a rock, which you might, so who knows. Justin and Hailey Bieber are pregnant. So Justin and Hailey Bieber recently announced they are expecting their first child, and the announcement was made via Instagram with a special photo shoot showcasing Hailey's pregnancy and their vow renewal. So cute. These photos featured Hailey in a lace dress, emphasizing her baby bump alongside Justin in a field. It was very like noir. It was so cute. Um, like I said, they renewed their vows during the same time, and this news has excited all their friends and celebrity friends and fans. There were so many celebrities commenting on both Justin and Hailey's Instagram, like everyone from like Kim Kardashian to like Michelle Obama. Don't quote me. That was just the next famous person in my mind at the moment. I do know Kim K commented on it. I don't know if Michelle Obama did, but like Sabrina Carpenter, just anybody famous you can think of, they probably commented on Hailey Bieber's pregnancy. However, I did not see Taylor Swift comment on there. I don't know if they're friends, but I really try to avoid talking about her because it's like, bleh. But anyway, also Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie announced they're doing a new TV series, which if you're a millennium 90s girly like me, you know The Simple Life was like life back then in reality TV. When I think of like reality TV and its finest era, like in the beginning, I'm thinking The Hills, which really wasn't reality. Flavor of Love, The Original Housewives, and The Real World, and Simple Life. Like Simple Life is definitely on that list. So Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie are coming back to television with a new reality series on Peacock. Nobody knows what it's called yet, but I love that it's going to be on Peacock because I'm a Bravo girly, and Bravo has that thing with Peacock where they like release all the new episodes a day after. Like I said, the details are still under wraps, but the excitement is high as this marks a reunion for the duo since their last stint in The Simple Life. The series is expected to bring their dynamic back into the limelight and promise some intriguing new content for fans. So obviously it's not going to be a Simple Life because they're both like rich and successful and have families now. But I just wonder if it's going to be like, I'm kind of imagining like not like a game show, but like something where they're like thrown into a situation where they wouldn't normally be and they have to like figure it out. So sort of similar to Simple Life, except they're not playing the dumb blondes anymore. Because again, they both have successful businesses and are super powerful women. So I think it's going to be something around that. Like, I think it's going to be like female empowerment themed for sure, but it's still going to give us a little bit of that, I don't want to say dumb blonde energy, but it's going to give us a little bit of that Paris and Nicole vibe that from The Simple Life that, all of us girlies love. So super excited for that. In other girly news, Miss Teen USA and Miss USA actually quit. They resigned. They gave up their title. So Miss USA and Miss Teen USA both resigned from their titles, citing mental health challenges in a toxic workplace environment. Somebody was probably being passive aggressive. But anyway, so the toxic work environment was orchestrated by the organization's CEO, Layla Rose. This is an unpredicted move that occurred after months of being subjected to what they described as a harmful workplace conditions under strict and controlling contracts that impacted their well-being. So it's giving Lizzo's backup dancers, it's giving dance moms, yes, just probably not a great environment. Following their resignations, the spotlight was placed on the issue when Miss USA's social media manager also stepped down, criticizing the unprofessional manner in which title holders were treated. So not only did Miss USA step down, but her social media manager did as well. Basically, I mean, and I would do that too. I stand with my girly, you know what I mean? The resignation even contained a hidden message of distress, spelling out "I am silenced" with the first letter of each sentence in her announcement. Like, okay, Taylor Swift. Like, Taylor Swift should have got with Miss USA and wrote a song about it, like, honestly, if you're gonna be that cryptic. But, like, girl, just come out and say it. Like, you are being silenced. You didn't have to, like, be weird and spell it out like that, but I stand with you. But these resignations have highlighted the need for significant changes in the leadership and operational standards within Miss USA organization to ensure a safe and supportive environment for all participants. Totally agree. Honestly, I think it's still crazy that we have pageants. It's just, it's like, it's 2024. Like, come on. Like, are we really going to continue to have contests based on beauty standards? And I know it's more than that. Like, I've never been a pageant girly, nor did I want to be a pageant girly. Here's me being passive aggressive. No, I'm just kidding. But like, to me, I know it's like more like they answer questions and like the skill, but it's just like all the training and skill that goes into it, and like the glam and the team and all the amount of money put into this. It's like no normal girl can win this. I can't join Miss USA tomorrow. Well, one, because I'm too old, as Trump said. But two, because like I just can't join this tomorrow and like expect to win. Like, it takes years of training. And it's just crazy to me. Like, I feel like I have a better chance of winning American Idol, like, honestly, or like becoming the president. It's just crazy to me that we still have pageants. So sound off in the comments. What are your thoughts on Miss Teen USA and Miss USA resigning? And last but not least, this one was actually shocking to me. The app Bumble, which, if you have been following the pod, you know that me and my fiance met on Tinder. We are a Tinder success story. And Bumble was new when I was like dating, when I was in the swiping world. And I actually met most of my best friends on Bumble because they had Bumble BFF. And I found more value from connecting with girls on Bumble than I did guys. I felt like all the guys on Bumble were just like super... this is gonna sound so bad. Excuse me, I need another little drink. But I feel like all the guys on Bumble were, I don't want to say nerds. They weren't like, they were just too nice. And Bumble had this whole thing, where the girl only has to message first. That's too much admin. I don't want to do, and like, I feel like that's why I didn't find successful dates on Bumble when I was dating, because it was like, I don't, when I match with somebody, like, you should come after me. Like, I'm not putting in all the work. Like, you need to come after me. Like, hit me with your corny, like, taglines. I am more than capable of filtering out the bad seeds. Like, Bumble thought we were so dumb that we would have to initiate conversation, which, fair, I get it. They were, like, trying to protect women. Totally understandable. But also, that's too much admin. I'm not going through 50, humble brag, I'm not going through 50 messages a day and trying to pick the ones I want to talk to and initiate conversation with. But luckily, Tinder was simple. Steven initiated conversation with me, and everything worked out because now we're getting married. But anyway, let's go back to the root of this story. Bumble faced criticism for their anti-celibacy ad campaign and issued an apology. So they had some controversial ads that, as part of a redesign, to revive users' interest, suggest that celibacy wasn't a viable alternative to online dating, which many perceived as undermining personal choices in your sex life and basically promoting patriarchal values, which, yeah. So in response to the backlash, they, particularly from women on social media, as I can imagine, Bumble posted an apology on Instagram this morning. Well, yesterday morning, because this will come out on Wednesday. They admitted that the campaign was a misguided attempt to connect with those frustrated by modern dating, and it affirmed their commitment to supporting women's rights to make personal choices. The company also announced plans to donate to the National Domestic Violence Hotline and other organizations, offering these groups free ad space on the billboards originally used for their campaign. Bumble did not disclose the number of billboards involved in the ad campaign. Okay, so they were quick to clean it up, but now y'all just look like assholes. Like, honestly, this is that marketing person definitely got fired. and is never gonna work in this town again. But man, yeah, just a really bad look for Bumble. But those are your pop culture stories. This is the wrap up of my solo episode, which I honestly didn't think go that bad. I had a lot to talk about. We had some advice, we had some science, we had some pop culture. I was going to talk about recreating Sex in the City looks, but I think I might save that for when I have like Michaela or Whitney on, because it's just more fun to talk about fashion when you have a co-host. But thank you so much for listening and hanging with me during this solo episode. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow us on Instagram, because that's where we post a lot of the content, because I'm a millennial and TikTok is like beyond. But I am trying to post on TikTok some. A lot of you requested like some more, and by a lot of you, I mean like 5 of you requested some more behind the scenes content. So I did take a little video of my setup, that I did for this pod, in case you're like trying to start a podcast and wondering like what all goes into it. So I'll be trying to post behind the scene things on Fridays, maybe Thursdays, most likely Saturdays. Honestly, probably whatever day I remember. But I promise you, going to start posting more behind the scenes stuff. I'm going to try and start videoing myself more, because I know you love to see face. I particularly don't like to see my own face. I feel like, especially when I'm recording in this type of atmosphere, it's very distracting, because I keep like looking at myself instead of the camera, or like I keep looking at my talking points. So I promise it'll get better. But yeah, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button if you enjoyed this episode, and stay hot, stay delusional. Bye.